Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie, I am the Introverted Reader, and we'll get pleasantries out of the way. My allergies are kicking my ass today, so if my voice sounds bunged up, that's why. Um, if you see me reach for a tissue to dab my nose, just ignore it. So, get a cat, everybody said. It'll be fun. Not during allergy season, it's not. And when she's shedding, she's over there. She's on my bed. And just, you don't care, do you? You don't care about my suffering. Anyway. So I hope you get a beverage of your choice. And anyway, today's video, I thought it would be fun to sit and talk about some movies. Now, you probably see by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about Jurassic Park. Because I only recently just watched Jurassic Park, maybe a few months ago. And I had it in my mind that I wanted to do a video about these movies because I'd never seen them before. And I was just like, these are actually so entertaining and so fun. It was a friend of mine actually from work that persuaded me to watch it, because whenever she heard I hadn't, she was like, you have to watch it. Now the first one came out in 1993. I was but a baby. I was a year old. So and I watched them as of recently, so I thought I would just sit and talk about them. So it's not sorry, I have notes. Not necessarily a review as such. I guess I just want to talk about them as a whole, and I guess the whole moral questions I guess we could be asking ourselves, after watching them, because it does raise a lot of, moral dilemmas. Okay, so let's start. We're just gonna be talking about the OG trilogy in this video. I'm gonna do a part 2 where we talk about the Jurassic World movies later, the more modern ones. I watched Rebirth yesterday. I watched it. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say on that, but we're not talking about that right now. I'm talking about the OG trilogy, so just Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3. Starring people such as Jeff Goldblum and Richard Attenborough, who plays John Hammond, who is this gentleman who basically wants to create a theme park with dinosaurs. Now, you can have a dinosaur-themed theme park, but he actually has this whole idea of creating actual real-life dinosaurs. Because obviously we all know dinosaurs been extinct for a couple million years. And there's this whole thing in the movie where it goes into depth, but basically there's this whole thing where they're talking about like, from a mosquito. It starts with a mosquito, because they're talking about like, oh, the mosquitoes land on the dinosaurs, drink their blood, and then a mosquito flies around and they land on trees. And then the tree sap sort of fossilizes the mosquito, and then they get the dinosaur blood from the fossilized mosquito. Would that even actually work? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But anyway, so then they get the dinosaur blood from the fossilized mosquito and they use it to create dinosaurs. And it's like, okay. And then anyway, he brings in he asked these 2 paleontologists and Jeff Goldblum. I'm sorry, I can't remember the actors' names. I can picture them in my head. And I'm sure so many of you are screaming at me right now the names of these actors, but all I can remember right now is Jeff Goldblum, who wasn't looking too bad in this film, but that's not the point. It's not the point. But anyway, so he brings in these 2 paleontologists and obviously Jeff Goldblum to come in because he wants them to see the theme park. He wants them to invest in it, and they're looking all around. And they're all like, ain't no way he's created dinosaurs. Like, ain't no way, ain't no way. And then they see what he's done. And it's like, holy shit. what are you actually being serious? Like, in the words of Jeff Goldblum, you did it, you crazy son of a bitch, you did it. And anyway, so obviously Richard Attenborough's character, Mr. John Hammond, is, you know, like, we all know Richard Attenborough, okay? He always seemed like a lovely, is he still alive? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But anyway, so, and you look at Richard Attenborough, and I think Santa Claus, because obviously he played Santa Claus in a Christmas movie, but A Miracle on 134th Street. But you know, he's this, you know, adorable old man, and he's like, I want to create something wonderful for children, and they can come here and they see the dinosaurs and learn and discover, and it's all in the name of science and discovery. And you know, and there's that infamous scene where they're sat around the table and they're sitting like bantering back and forth, and Jeff Goldblum's character is dead set against this shit. He's like, absolutely not, cannot be doing this, fucking around with nature, because nature will then fuck around with you. Like, you can't be doing this, you know? Like, thinking about whether they could stop the thing that they should. Do you know what I'm saying? And then a whole bunch of shenanigans happens. And one thing I will say about all three of these movies, they're so campy and over the top. And I don't say that as a read. I'm saying that because, like, I love that about them. I love them about, like, I love that about them. Like, everything's like, you know, they see the dinosaurs and they're like, ah! You know, it's like, obviously, I would probably react the same, you know, if I was nose to nose with a T-Rex. But, it's just, they're so campy and over the top. But, you know, and anyway, and, you know, and obviously so that's the first one, you know, and these three scientists are seeing all this firsthand, and a whole bunch of shenanigans happen, and then they're all like, it's a disaster, and like, no, that this park would never ever work. It would be, you know, complete utter failure, because nearly all of them, you know, like, it's danger everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And you know, that whole thing where they're talking about, oh, all of the dinosaurs are female, they can't reproduce, and then because of frog DNA, apparently they can. Like, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't actually know if any of this would be possible. It terrifies me, the idea that it could very well be. But let's all hope and pray that we that never got. Let's hope and pray this never becomes a reality. It's all just TV. And anyway, so, and then we get to Jurassic Park 2, and it's just Jeff Goldblum this time, and he's been on the island, and all the way through, not just this trilogy, but all the movies as a whole, anytime you see Jeff Goldblum's character, he is just like, leave it alone. Let's not do this. Like, being honest, like, the character he plays seems like he doesn't really care all that much about anything, and he's just like, oh yeah, like, but like, you know, he's very cynical at the beginning, and then whenever things start happening and it all starts becoming very, very real, you know, it's all very just like, oh, no, 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 we shouldn't be doing this. Like, leave that island alone. We should not be doing this. Like, these creatures should not exist, you know? And, you know, raising the moral question, like, do we have the right to play God? Would we have the right to even attempt to bring dinosaurs back? Like, in reality, would that be a good thing? Probably, definitely not. If anything that happens in these three films is anything to go by, absolutely not. You know, and you've got little John Hammond, who he's just like, I haven't read the book Jurassic Park, but like, apparently in the book, John Hammond is just, you know, the worst, with a god complex bigger than, you know, like an ego and a god complex. It's so huge you can barely see over it. Oh, sorry, I just had to take a drink there. You know, but in the movies, he just seems like this sweet old man who, you know, wanted to create something exciting and beautiful. And, you know, the more you watch it, the more it's just, you know, he's, you know, talking about like, spare no expense, you know, we can totally do this and it'll be wonderful, it'll be great. And everybody around him is trying to be like, no, you should not be doing this. You should not be doing this, because it's dangerous, it's unnatural, like, dinosaurs are extinct for a reason, and he's just like, I want to preserve them, I want to protect them, these creatures, they deserve to be here just as much as any other creature, excuse me. Ah, but anyway. And anyway, you have time and time again these people trying to like reason with John and be all like, no. And a great scene for me is from the first one, where it's John Hammond and the lady paleontologist, who again name escapes me. I probably should have learned her name before I started making this video, but that's how I do. And her talking about like he was like, I'll be better next time, like if I could control it better. And her saying, no, you thinking you have control is the illusion. Like everything is out of your control. Like you have no control here. That's the illusion. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Because everything he set out to create was just falling apart. And then anytime he tried making it better, it blew up in his face. Like wasting all of that money, wasting all of that research, wasting all of that time. And then, that whole sequence where that creepy guy that worked in the computer lab, stealing the dinosaur embryos and wanting to sell them. And it's just, it gets you thinking that if any of that research or any of that technology did get into the wrong hands, it'd be real, real bad. And, and it does. Throughout the whole course of the Jurassic Park / World franchise, we see how badly it goes every single time. And then we get to Jurassic Park 3, and we're back on the island with Dr. Grant, just he himself, because him and the lady paleontologist were together, but they're not together anymore. And he kind of goes because this couple come up to him, and they basically ask him, listen, our son has gone missing. He was away on a trip with a friend of ours. Why you sent your kid away on a trip with a friend? It doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. And they're all like, they disappeared off the coast of this island, and we want you to, they feed him this whole story, that's not true. I can't remember what the story was they fed him in the beginning. I think they make it seem like they want to go there and research the island and the creatures. At first he's like, absolutely not. But then they get there, again, they find out that this couple fed him a lie. And they're like, their son had disappeared, and they want him to help find him. And he brings along this like younger man with him, who in the movie he's called Billy. And and they're looking around, whatever, they're looking for this kid. And again, they find the old remnants of the laboratory, and then they run into trouble, basically, as they do every single time. And everything is definitely not what it seems like. Definitely not what it seems in this one. And Dr. Grant comes to find that, like, he despises everything to do with like the Jurassic Park thing, because obviously him and his friend almost died. The third one I don't think is my favorite out of the trilogy. I think if I was gonna pick a favorite out of all three, it would just be the first one, definitely. But then again, like all these moral questions that these movies ask us, like, do we have the right to mess with nature like that? Is it really right to attempt to do all these things and bringing dinosaurs back from extinction? Like, if any scientist, knock on wood, but like any creature from, a couple million years ago, would it be right to interfere with nature like that? Excuse me again. Oh, so sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's one thing I despise about spring. It's that I can barely go anywhere without my nose. Just, anyway. Do we have the right to interfere? Like all the way through these, like I was always on Jeff Goldblum's side, if I'm being honest with you, like in the first one and in the second one, Because he's just like, I speak my words plainly, I speak plain simple English, I don't have an accent that I know of, and yet no one listens to me. And I'm like, exactly. He was the only one with any sense. Because like time and time again you watch any of these movies and you're just like, humans are dumb, humans are really stupid. And coming back to John Hammond, like you look at him and you're just like, he was just a man that wanted to create something beautiful. And you could understand that, like creating a theme park where kids could learn about dinosaurs. And, am I gonna sneeze? No, I'm not. Hold it in. I'm gonna wrap up this video now. But anyway, like where kids could learn about dinosaurs, and that's all well and good. But, it didn't all go too well for John Hammond in the end. But like, all in all, I'm so glad that I finally watched these. Because obviously they were out of time and I was just too small and too young to be watching them. So with all that being said, I'm going to love you and leave you. Let me know in the comments if you've watched Jurassic Park, which one of the trilogy is your favorite. Yeah. And I will be doing a part 2 where we talk about the Jurassic World movies later on. I think I might need to rewatch them again. But definitely nothing touches the OG trilogy. Like the OG trilogy is so iconic, and like the music. That's what I'm trying to say. The music is so iconic. Everything about it, just yeah. And definitely my favorite out of the 3 is definitely just the OG one, the first one. So anyway, I'm gonna love you and leave you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you do enjoy me doing more movie reviews on this channel, because I do watch movies and I like talking about them. So yeah, hope you're all having a good day. Anyone else with allergies just wanting to rip their nose off their face? Because I certainly am. Anyway, I love you guys. My socials are down below as always. Blue Sky, Instagram and Threads, and TikTok. They're all down there. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.